Oh yeah, you wanted to talk to me about Luuk de Jong.
Luuk de Jong is a name that's crept up a lot. We had a lot of comments in on him. Obviously, PSV Eindhoven striker. I think he's now officially released. I
He's
think
out of contract.
He's left.
But PSV have offered him a new contract.
Interesting.
They desperately want him to stay.
Well, look, just some of the comments that were sent into us caught my eye, and if you want to get involved, please do so. Give us your thoughts.
He's sort of doing a Lawrence Van Shankland.
Russell Peterson says, I mean, this is a bit mad. I think we need to find Russell. He says, I would kill a loved one to have Luuk de Jong at Rangers. I know he's almost 35, but he's just dragged PSV to back-to-back titles.
Not the sort of guy you want to fall out with, Dan. Just be careful how you go.
No, Russell, good point. The guy scores in every big game his club plays.
Seems reasonable.
Seems absolutely reasonable to me. John says Luuk de Jong would be a better signing than Jamie Vardy. You get a year or two almost out of Vardy. De Jong could give us 3 or 4.
That's a fair point.
Davey says De Jong has the potential to be a Purcell-esque signing, a proper target man that can bring others into the game, an absolute leader, and most importantly knows what it means to be a winner. I know it's a signing we've talked about before in the Hotline Live, and you've kind of done a little bit of digging around it as well.
Yeah.
I think it's something that likely to happen.
No, I think there's no chance of it happening. I'm sorry to
okay.
Pour stuff on anybody's cornflakes, but this one, I checked out originally a week or so ago. Spoke to the player's agent, representative in Holland. He said at that point there was no indication of any interest from Rangers or any offer. And bear in mind, this is a guy who is sitting in a situation just now where he is out of contract, free agent. There are offers on the table, none of which at this point last week were for Rangers. The guys that I know in Holland were all saying that he's really happy, really settled at PSV, but he's well travelled. He has sampled, I think he's played in Spain, he's played in England. And the word that they used was he may want one more foreign adventure. But when they were talking about adventures, they were talking about perhaps the MLS, maybe Saudi, maybe Australia.
Not governed.
The idea of going to Glasgow didn't seem to be high on anybody's sort of list of expectations for Luuk de Jong. So I can understand why a lot of Rangers fans would look at that link and think, yep. And also, Rangers should be able to compete with the clubs in Holland in terms of what wages they might be able to offer them. But I wonder with this one, I'm not entirely convinced. And I checked up again with the guys that I know back in Holland within the last 24 hours, and the position hasn't changed as far as they're concerned. So I don't think that it's real. Russell Martin did say this, that over the course of the next few days, you'll see what's real and what's not. I think that Luuk de Jong might have to get filed in the not real cabinet. But, I could look fairly stupid if this time tomorrow Luuk de Jong is joined up with Rangers down at their training camp in England. I don't expect that to be the case.
Big Rab says Vardy's old enough to be the new Rangers dad. And Blue Nose John says Daniel Caw would Luuk de Jong be a suitable signing against the low block. I mean, it's unlikely to happen, but I do think he would be a good signing for Rangers.
Yeah, listen, he's having an Indian summer in Dutch football at the minute. It's not always worked for him everywhere he's been, and he's
not long ago he was at Barcelona.
Yeah, which is incredible, and he was there on loan, wasn't he?
Aye.
But he's not everybody's cup of tea in terms of what you might be looking for in your identikit number 9.
Aye.
He's a big guy, target man, kind of old-fashioned, but he's having this real, as I said, Indian summer at PSV, and PSV are desperate to keep him. Their manager, Paul Boss, has been speaking about it, he's been very open about it, but he said, look, I can't keep phoning the guy every 2 minutes to find out if he's going to accept the offer or not.
Aye.
The offer's on the table, and as I said, it is actually a little bit similar to the situation that Hearts had with Lawrence Shankland, and I think that PSV are still pretty hopeful that he'll recommit to them. As I said, I'm not sure that I wouldn't be confident in saying that Rangers have actually put an offer on the table for him to consider.
In regards to the Celtic game, which is still going on, we've got it here. It's still 0-0 after 15 minutes. James Forrest has gone closest for Celtic, but it still remains goalless in Cork.
Yeah, not a great deal happening.
In the comment,
I'm starting to regret this watch along.
In the comments, David says, Martin, all about mobility up front. Vardy still has that. Not sure if De Jong fits the bill. And Rangers, as OK points out, we need to get players out the door ASAP. We currently now have 10 midfielders fighting for 6 places. We can't keep stockpiling players, although we do need 2 wingers before we play Panathinaikos. That Panathinaikos game...
I agree with all that.
Aye, but what, I mean, 2 weeks tonight, I think?
22nd of July.
Aye, so 2 weeks tonight. I know it's still 2 weeks away, but...
There's not a lot of time.
It's not a lot of time, is it?
But it goes back, and I don't want to keep on banging the old drum, but I did say weeks ago that Rangers were in a really difficult position in terms of trying to get ready for the start of the season, the Champions League qualifiers. And, you know, the clock is ticking, there's 2 weeks, it does feel like a really big ask.
And yet Rangers, Easy OK is also asking, is Andy heading down to cover the camp? The Rangers camp?
I believe he is.
I think he is.
Yes, he is. Yeah. Andy and Scott McDermott, I think, the two of them are going down.
Are you jealous with that, or
jealous about what?
Someone going with Scott?
Well, that would depend where they were going. Where is this place?
Is there no St George's Park?
Yeah.
Probably.
No, I could take or leave that one.
Aye. I know, I meant just because it was Scott.
I know what you mean.
Okay, cool. Excellent. People asking us about De Jong again, but I think we've said it all, really.
What's the question?
Saying would Jimmy says I think De Jong would suit Rangers' pressing game.
No, I think that's another thing that would have to be factored into any discussion about that. Is he the guy? And we spoke the other night. I said that there might be concerns about Igaman's ability to lead a press, a high press, because the central striker more often than not is the trigger point. Mm-hmm. I said that Igaman's very mobile and he's got a turn of pace, and I'm sure he could do the job. But he's a free spirit that sort of plays the game he wants to play it, not within a set structure.
More of a 10.
De Jong, is he going to be mobile enough to go and shut people down and lead a press from the front? I'm not sure about that either. Jamie Vardy, funnily enough, even though he's a little bit older, would probably be, more suited to playing in a Russell Martin team as the lead guy, the guy that was triggering presses high up the pitch.
Your loyal Muppet says you could get both of them. They would actually be quite a good pairing up front, which not a bad shout, but I can't see that happening.
You're looking at significant wages there. Look, I don't know how much more I can say without rubbishing anybody's work out there. But all the intelligence that I'm getting from Holland, from the players' camp, and from trusted sources over there is that Rangers aren't at the table. So, yep, I know there's been a lot of talk about it, but I don't see anything coming to fruition with that. I don't